legendary opinionated Marislav and my absolute rock star Diamond. I was like, shit, I need to make like a proper one for you. This is Diamonds and Demons series, motherfuckers, everyone. This is the only section of the episode, Rich and Hydrated, where we talk about, I don't know, collective stuff, news, politics, the interwebs, people. This is kind of like a unique corner and setting. Diamond, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm doing good.
You have some, we have some fun stuff to discuss.
We do.
Yeah.
I do.
Are you going to preface it?
I'm happy to tee it up if you want. That's fine. Okay. So there was a post on Facebook that I saw, and it was discussing, I guess, I'm sure it was a much longer contextualized, a podcast of somebody explaining how millennials resent boomers for essentially betraying them in some way because they gave them this template for life and then it didn't work, right? And now they're eyeballs deep in debt, they can't get a job, they can't afford anything, et cetera, et cetera.
I'm making notes.
So,
yeah.
So there's that. And so that's the premise of this whole thing, right? That millennials resenting boomers gave up a failed template to this generation, and now therefore they are failing. That's the whole argument. And I think, I will say this, I will say that there's been a lot of downward trajectory on a lot of different metrics, and I'm perfectly willing to accept and agree to that. But a lot of those things are more political in nature. The average boomer had no say in any of this, they were just going along to get along like everybody else today, So, I mean, it's no more their fault than it is the millennials' fault that we're in Iran right now. That's not something you can really, that's neither something anybody can own. I mean, just average people, not politicians. Politicians can own that 100%,
sure.
But the average citizen can't own this. It is what it is.
And I want to give a caveat to this, by the way. When people speak of collectives, right? And I'm just using one that used to be very prevalent in my corner. We'll go fuck the patriarchy, because it's the white man that's owning the world, and not only does the white man does not own the world, we could argue in a different conversation who does, but it's you're isolating such a specific tiny percentage of people who are in a certain specific position, politicians. The rest of the normal people, civilians, are the same level of subject to the consequences as any other demographic.
Right. There's no inherent immunity to inflation. Right. It's not your gas prices are one thing and their gas prices are no. Right. It doesn't go that way. So and I accept that. I accept that there are political, and macroeconomic things that happen in the world that happened over time and have built up and have ultimately set younger generations up for shit. I get that part. I don't deny that part. But I do deny the part where somebody is saying this generation gave me an oral tradition and a template for life and it failed. I don't know that happened. There is a difference, right? In who failed who. Could there have been bad parents? Okay, but there's always bad parents. There's always been bad parents. So
those are not generational related.
That's intergenerational. Every generation has a set of shitty parents that set their kids up to fail, whatever. But if we're talking about what was passed down, I look at that and so this woman is bemoaning the fact that boomers, the parents, gave their millennial kids this template for life. Again, there's no definition of what this template is, right? So I asked for this, right? And I said, oh, what's the template then, right? Because I know what my template was. And my dad's silent generation, he's older than boomers. But my mom's a boomer, and, okay, so I got a little bit of both. What is the template?
So let me guess. The template is something, as in like you go to school, you get your you graduate, then you work, and then you're able to live in one household, one income home. Like that's the promise.
I don't even know. Nobody confirmed that. Nobody has actually said that. But somebody in the chat was saying, I mean, because they were all projecting their own beliefs of what the boomers were saying. That's the worst. Was like it's like if I go in with a slogan and I say hope and change, and I take a poll on what that means, I will get 1,000 responses, all different from each other on what that means. They don't agree on what that means, right? So we have kind of like this vague claim at the top, but nobody knows what it actually entails. And nobody knows how to define it. So we're just going to project onto it. One person projected all the political stuff. And I'm like, no, you're conflating. That's not it. I'm not accepting that, because the politicians fucking us over is every generation. And to every degree, we've experienced that. And that's I'm like, so don't, like we're not a special class. But if you're telling me that boomers as parents, private citizens, just from parent to child, fucked up as a generation, just gave their kids this template, and generally speaking, this template didn't pay off. That's what I want to know. So one person was saying, well, it's at the end of the day, boomers could afford a house, and, and they could work 40 hours a week, and they would be able to, maybe they had one or two incomes, but the second income was optional, blah, 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 whatever. And they were just saying that their lifestyle was much easier and things were a lot more affordable. And now they're not. But it worked for them to go get a degree and then get a job, and then they stayed in the job for 20 years, blah, blah, blah. And so their lives are different, and they set up our expectations to be completely wrong. And I said, okay, but what it looks like to me is that you're not actually criticizing the template. You're criticizing outcome, right? You're saying my outcome is not their outcome, right? And so my question is where did the action items that led to that outcome fall apart? Where is the flaw in the actions and the steps that you took? Because when I listen to a boomer talk, right, about a day in the life of them at 20, 25 years old, 30, I never hear them say they went to Starbucks and got coffee. They never went out for coffee. They had like swag brand canned coffee, right?
The lunchbox still from their older brother, who handed it down.
Handed down, right? I said they were using Wonder Bread, like they were not even getting Whole Foods wasn't a thing, right? They were just going out and getting regular white bread. Like it was like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and they were meatloaf on Wednesdays, spaghetti night, Thursday. Like that's what you would hear from them. At no point did I hear DoorDash. DoorDash for them was pizza night. Once a month on a Friday, pizza would be delivered to you, right? That was like the big deal. But pizza was so cheap, it offset the delivery costs. So you ultimately were like, okay, it's not too bad, right? But it was a treat. Pizza night was a treat. Like that was not normal, right? Not every day we're ordering something in. Like that was not a thing. I said, so there's a lot of things that just didn't factor into their budget at all, Credit card fees didn't even factor into their budget when you think about it. They were paying cash, or it was credit, or it was a check.
Yeah, debit, basically debit, right?
Right.
I feel that obviously we're fucking going into this conversation, and you and I both are too immigrant for this conversation, because we have seen the rest of the world where so the modern West, mostly America, but the modern West, Canada too, the modern West is unique in its way that it promises you a good life. The rest of the world doesn't have that, right?
Right.
A lot of the people who are now younger generations and following are mostly fighting the idea and the promise that was made by no particular person,
right,
that life is going to be easier because your parents did the work.
That they're inheriting something.
That they inherited progress and ease. That's
Right.
only in the modern West. That's
Right.
one. That's the
fair.
first criticism
That's fair.
too. My second criticism is that in the modern West, the millennials are after the boomers, right?
No, Gen X is after the boomers. That's
Okay,
my
so
generation. So millennials are like born
which one
after
is after?
1982.
Okay,
81.
so everyone after, so the generation after 1982 is the first generation historically that has placed itself in a position of criticism of their parents from an arrogant place that they know how their parents should have done things better while not having lived a parent life themselves, right? Like
I would
we
say they
now
have that in common with boomers, actually, because boomers had the whole liberation and hippie movement and the Woodstock and the burning the bras and all of that and the sexual revolution. That was all fuck the tradition. My parents don't know. I know what's best, and
but
I'm
they
going to go
actually had to show up yet. Like they still had to show up
at
and
the end
create
of the day.
skills, right?
They did. They did. So at the end of the day, they had to retire that lifestyle and get a life. Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Whereas we are now the younger generation, so everything after me. I'm an 88, but I'm 88 from East Europe, so it doesn't really
Yeah, it doesn't
translate into American, right? That's
No.
why I hang around with older Americans, because the younger Americans and I have nothing in fucking common, right? Work ethic, values, etc. If you meet so, and then there's another thing where there's this like weird ass concept of my parents should have handed me the correct blueprint and template for exponential success, right? Not just normal success, but
Right.
exponential wealth.
Mhm.
Even though they don't have it, how dare they not have it? And then how dare they not tell me what the right blueprint would have been?
Right.
But most importantly, all the majority of the industries that all these parents were, succeeded in, they don't exist anymore. We live in the easiest and most affluent time on the fucking planet,
Right.
where you can become a multi-decamillionaire just from your fucking phone. Your
Right.
actual geographic location does not matter. Your looks don't even matter because there's no external agency that's deciding where you are allowed to be in the in crowd. All of your ability to create wealth, success, a good life is all in your hand. So I am constantly confused why the younger generation is like, but my parent, but the older, the boomers, while the boomers don't even live the life that they say they want. The younger generation, like I want rich, I want ease, and I want be able to go to Starbucks and live on my own.
Yeah.
They don't even do that.
Right. So that's where, and this is where I think I don't think they got it. I honestly don't think they got the template that they think they got. I think they projected a lot of that on themselves, to be honest. I think they filled in a lot of blanks and didn't ask any questions and just assumed a lot of shit. So like, for example, my dad went to college, but he's only one of 5 of his brothers that actually finished college. He's not the millionaire. He has 2 brothers who are millionaires. Neither of them finished college. One became an investment banker, another became a famous author. So both of them are millionaires. My dad's just a teacher, but he has his degree. So he knows what's what. He knows that he understood that, okay, I got a degree, it got me a job. That's fine, and it got me through, and I have a pension and I'm comfortable. That's what it got him. And that's, and he never made any major claims about that. I'm a teacher. This is, I was a cop. Now I'm a teacher. I'm a public servant. I have a public servant life. But you've lived this, you grew up in it, so you know how comfortable it is, right? So you understand that this is like average, right? This is an average life. And we relied on your mom having an income as well. This was not a single income. So my mom was working. She's an insurance agent. They are the poster children of middle class, okay? Like they are the epitome of middle class. And I was like, and it's like, okay. So between the 2 of them, they were able to eke out a living, provide for 2 or 3 kids, and each have a car, and that was it. And I was like, okay. I live the same life that they do now, laterally, not even adjusted for inflation. My husband and I currently bring in exactly what my parents brought in to combine. We do that now. We have a house. We provide for our kids. We have a car each. We have a vehicle each. Nothing has changed. I have literally, and I did all of this concurrently with millennials because I had to start over. So like when I got divorced, I lost everything. I had to start over. So I was doing that. So Chris and I were doing this saddled with a mortgage of child support. So like we're doing this with this extra mortgage that we have called child support. And we started at the same time as millennials did with nothing. 1-bedroom apartment, air conditioning unit. I had to start my career over. He started his career over. We had to start over completely. So we're starting at minimum wage in California, basically, is what we're starting. And that was 15 years ago.
Because that's the trajectory when you go into the workforce.
Correct. So we started when millennials started. Same time. In California, no less. Now, what were the decisions that we made? 1-bedroom apartment, not 2. Air conditioned unit in the window, not central air. Go to the laundromat instead of the units being inside the apartment, right? In a questionable complex that wasn't the worst. I've seen worse, but it wasn't the best either. And I know that, but it was the cheapest. So we took that, pooled our resources. I get a job, he gets a job, and I get a small raise. So it's like, okay, we will now move to a 1-bedroom apartment with central air, and the washer and dryer is now in the unit, is in the apartment unit, which is a huge deluxe bump, right, for us. That was a year later. Then after 2 years there, I got a bonus that allowed me to put down on a house. I took everything that we saved. We lived below our means.
Pause. Because you're going to fly through this and just skating over an extremely important thing that needs more emphasis. You saved because you lived below your means. Because people will go, well, I don't have any savings, as if it's this like magical things that just appear.
Right.
No. In order to save, it's actual sacrifice.
Correct. I had to not do other things. I had to not live as well as I could. Right.
Many other things.
Right. I drove a Hyundai Excel that had basically a hamster for an engine. And he was driving an old Mustang, like it was like old, used like 98, 97, something like that. So like we were not like driving in luxury at all, and so I'm saving. We're living below our means. I put the money aside and I have enough to put enough down for a house. I'm not at 20% yet, but the house existed. And I was like, well, let's just go get the house. Because if nothing else, I'm sure it will appreciate over time. It'll be fine. So I bought this house. It was further away. My commute turned into 30 minutes instead of 15. Okay, whatever. Willing to drive a little further because we've got this house. I'm paying PMI. I'm doing a lot of things that are pushing it a little bit for me, but it was brand new, so I didn't have many repairs to do to the house. I lose my job. I take the first job opportunity I can find, which is in San Diego, which, by the way, is a 90-mile drive each way from home.
And again, I'm going to pause because we need more, because again, this is just scaling. So I can hear the leftovers. I've been around many. I spend time online so I can hear them, right? Mm-hmm. And then I got another job in San Diego. But in order to get that job, it required effort on your end, probably relentless effort.
Right.
Constantly applying, being willing to take jobs below your fucking
Correct.
skill level.
All of which is true.
Right. And this is important because when people go, oh, because again, I can hear it. Well, I can't find a job. No, because you're wanting a job that's way on beyond there.
Right.
And you and I always agree on it's like, if I lose all my life right now, I will clean toilets if I have to.
Correct.
I'm not above that.
No.
I'm not above that. I will work 3 fast food chain restaurants if I have to. I'm not above that.
So I took a job that was beneath me. I took a step down. It took me 3 months to get it. So I was unemployed for 3 months. Mm-hmm. But child support didn't go anywhere. My mortgage didn't go anywhere. I still had to pay those things. So I had savings to pay for that, right? And I had to dip into my savings because, there wasn't any money. So I end up taking the job in San Diego because that's the only thing I can find that will take me at that time. So I did it. I went, so I'm driving 90 miles each way. I'm on the highway for about 2 hours each way to work. I go in early to avoid the traffic. I leave a little later to avoid the traffic so that I can, because I get home at the same time. And I get there at the same time, so I might as well leave, you know. So I go in a little early, I get more work done, and then I come home. And then, you know, and then that's it. But I'm basically leaving at the house at 5:30, 5 o'clock, 5 in the morning. I don't get back until about 7:30. And then I do the whole thing over again. I did that for 6 months.
You mean to tell me that your work wasn't just, 8 hours a day and then you could just chill and play video games when you got home?
No, I still had a separate side hustle as well. Like I was doing another side hustle for Bobby at the time. So I was, this thing where it was like, and the reason why I did it wasn't because I didn't have this checklist from my dad that said, you should have this one job. What he said is you're responsible for any bills you sign up for. So if you signed a contract, you better fucking pay that shit. That's what I got. I got my dad telling me, pay your fucking bills and never overextend yourself on credit. That was the other thing. He was like, credit card, the only reason why you use it is to build credit. You pay it off every month. And that was his thing. So I still to this day do that. I never carried over a balance except once when I was unemployed. I carried it over once, but I had the job already. So I was like, okay, I will carry it over just to wait for that paycheck so I can pay for it. And it was the one time I carried it over.
And it's gonna sound a little inappropriate. So if there's kids around, for anyone listening right now, you might pause it for a second. I have never like I said, you and I are willing to do dirty jobs below our means. Zero fucking problem. I have zero pride problems. Like again, I will fucking shovel shit if I have to.
Correct.
Not because I look down upon shoveling shit, but it's because it's the lowest paying job. I am willing to do that. Zero problems. And one of them, when I still had my tattoo shops, there was a red light district around the corner. Mm-hmm. And the hookers would come in and they would be like, they have like an image from the internet or something. That'd be like, okay, how much is this? And we'd be like, I don't know, it's $400. They're like, okay, so that's 4 times sucking dick, right? And then they would fucking hustle the days.
Okay. So let me tell you about that, because Chris and I had a very similar conversation, not having to do with sucking dick, but translating the cost of something into a different currency, right? The currency of how many hours will it take me to get this? How many, or what does this mean? How many bills can I not pay with this, right? Like translating it into other things that are already tangibly in our lives that amount to an amount of money, right? Mm-hmm. Americans avoiding metric at all costs. We will actually measure things in other bills, right? So but it's true.
Or in other credit cards.
In other credit, we will look at it and say, okay, I can't get that because it translates into this bill. I still need to pay the cell bill, right? And so that's one cell bill I have to give up or whatever. And we're translating it in that way. So not dissimilar to how many blowjobs it will take to get a tattoo.
No. But it's just a very clear
currency translation, right?
Well, and it's, as someone who's been, I've done 2 iterations of a lot of influx of money and then poverty. I lived my last round before I got wealthy, not rich, but wealthy. I was living with 5 roommates.
Right. There
5 roommates.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was, I did not have the luxury of being like, oh, I don't feel like working in the evening anymore, so I'm gonna fucking chill the fuck out. No, whatever work came my way, I grabbed on. It's fucking sent by the gods personally. And it was a very clear, because I've been a business, I've been self-employed since I was 17. So then it becomes even an abstract thing. The girls would go every Friday night, they would go party, whether they drank or not, right? So for me, it was not only, okay, they're drinking and one of the drinks is $15, which is mm-hmm. Hour, 2 hours work. But also it takes me 2 hours away from potentially working.
Right.
So now I'm definitely in the deficit.
Right. It's cost twice. It costs to pay to go and it costs what you didn't make. Right.
Exactly.
Right. So that's what and that's the thing is, it's my mom came to the United States in the 70s, and immediately she was living in Inglewood, California. There are rap songs about how ghetto that place is.
That's really bad, right? Yeah.
Really bad. And it was
Really
was no better in the 70s, by the way, because her first day here, she was mugged. Well, actually, she fought off a mugger. She didn't want to lose her last $5, so she fought off the mugger and ran away and kept the $5. but mom, exactly, mom crushed it. But mom came to the United States, could not afford a car, had a full-time job as a secretary. Her roommate, she needed a roommate in the hood. She needed a roommate to make rent, and she had a roommate who also worked full-time as a secretary, could not afford a car on that salary, was barely making rent. They were renting out their parking space because they were close to Loyola Marymount University. So when the university had games or anything, they would rent out their parking space because they didn't have a car. So that was them in the 70s as boomer women with a full-time job as secretaries. So like they were using the bus. So like I'm not understanding where on earth they're talking about this thing where the boomers just had it made. My dad moved out of the house. He lived in his car at the beach because it was near the showers where he could, and he was working full-time scooping ice cream at the Carnation factory. So I'm not understanding, and that was in the 60s. So I'm still wondering where the fuck this great life was that the boomers had that they didn't have to go through struggle to get to where they were.
I think what is happening, for one, this is only chronically online behavior, right? No actual offline person you'll have to have these conversations with, because offline people are very aware that whatever you're like, this is almost like the chronic online subjects is almost like a unique language, because offline people do not understand, like even trying to describe
reality. It's an ultra reality.
Right. And what I think is happening with these chronic online romantic people is that they do the same thing when they judge other countries, right? So they're all like, oh, but look at, Croatia. It's so cheap living there. Yeah, with your American money right now, right? And so they do the same thing, is they look at like the 60s, 70s, and they're like, look how cheap the houses were.
Right. They also had
current American money. Right, with your current income, not with what they used to make, but what you make right now.
Right, and also
this is happening.
Exactly, but also like they didn't have air conditioning. Central air was not a thing. Like nobody had air conditioning in the 50s and 60s. Like if they did, they were rich by that point because it wasn't happening. Like I grew up in a house that didn't have air conditioning because it was built in the 40s and nobody wanted to put it in. So it was like, so I never got air conditioning in LA. Like our house was built in the 40s. So like, I don't understand this shit again, where it's like, I'm going to compare my life. Your life is, if you're going to make decisions, right, you got to make decisions that there's certain things that are time tested. Like having roommates and dispersing your expenses is always going to be a good idea to save money. There's never a situation where more people helping you pay your bills is a bad thing for you. It's always going to make it less expensive for you. The math always maths on that. Time tested, generation to generation, roommates are a good idea to save money. I had 5 roommates as well. I had 8 roommates at one point.
And by the way, as an adult, because I didn't go to school, I never did school, right? So I didn't have the, go to college. No, as a full fucking blown, 25, 28-year-old, I had roommates because I had, again,
100% you did.
And again, by the way, some of the best fucking time, because it was with fellow adult women.
Yeah.
And we were all fucking grinding.
Okay. Yeah. If you're like, and if you had like like-minded people who were like, I also want to save my money. I also
there were 2 who were party harders, fucking annoyed the shit out of me. But hey, fine. We balling up in this bitch. Let's fucking go.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the thing is it's like, okay, but you could easily get roommates when you're single. Why aren't you getting roommates when you're single? That makes no sense. You have no dog. You have no spouse. You have no kids. You basically are going out working every day. What the fuck do you need a whole house to yourself for? Like, just hang up your hat and do the thing and save your money. And you would be so much better off in the long run because you can make a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, or whatever it is to ultimately get your house or get your car or move or travel or whatever it is you're doing next, right? but you're not. Instead, you're living paycheck to paycheck in a 2-bedroom apartment, taking on the
Why you
responsibility
got
of
a
pets.
Why you got a 2-bedroom apartment?
Why you got pets? Your shit can't afford it. You got no fucking
why
money.
You have pets? Why you are supposed to live with the roommates in a fucking studio where you have a little fucking curtain in between the two beds.
That's right.
I get that too. Like, seriously.
But there's like, but it's so weird because they're acting as if roommates were not a thing until now. But like, there's plenty of TV shows that show people struggling and having roommates and barely making rent. Like back in the 60s and 70s. Like,
not only roommates, but like whole families living in a 1-bedroom apartment.
2 and 3 families living in one house.
Yeah.
Totally normal in the rest of the world, by the way. Totally fucking normal.
And by the way, I realized I've been too Americanized when even though it wasn't living in America yet, but like too Westernized, when I was visiting my friend in Poland. And it's mom, dad, 2 adult daughters, and big brother. Mom, dad in living room on the expanded couch. Brother on a kind of like a sofa lounge thing as a bed. 2 sisters in bunk beds in a separate bedroom. Sister, one of them has a boyfriend. So boyfriend is in the bunk bed, like chilling below with sister. Normal.
Yeah.
Normal.
Yeah. That's, I mean, that sounds about right, because that's, I mean, a lot of like Latin American households are exactly like this. Like,
no, yeah, that's why we're Latinos.
Yeah, China, same thing. All the immigrants that come here, at least 2 families to a household.
100%. I grew. By the way, look, the foster family that I grew up with was, so the mom, dad, uncle, and 2 kids, and then me, like, which would be like the grandkid technically or whatever.
Right. But totally normal to have grandparents in the house. Like, that's 100% normal in any other country but the West. Like, you know, like Eastern Europe, Asia, grandparents are in the house. They don't even send them to, you know, retirement homes. So like this thing where it's like, and they're like, well, but, you know, but in the United States we have wealth and we're such a wealthy country. Why do we have to live like we're poor? And I'm like, you live like you're poor because you choose to be poor. Like, that's a choice. Poverty is a choice in a rich country.
100%. For one, yes, poverty is a choice in a rich country. Let me make that a fucking clip note. Poverty is a choice in a rich country, and and by the way, this is where people get it twisted. Poverty is the default.
Correct. You're born
just
poor.
Because you live in a in a country where wealth is possible,
right?
Doesn't mean shit. You just now have the opportunity to build said wealth.
Correct. Your
poverty
default is poverty. You're born with jack shit. You got no clothes. You got no money. You got no food. You have no ability. You have no mobility. You have no language. You have nothing. So you come into this thing poor. Your parents might be well off. That ain't you, bitch. That's them. That's their money. There's a lot of, if you listen to some of these celebrities, and listen to what they say about their kids, they're like, I think Sting said it, and I think Gordon Ramsay as well. They're like, yeah, my kids are gonna have to get a job. Figure it out. I'm not giving them my shit.
There's this one big business coach. I can look up his name. He's also an investor and now does business coaching on the side. And he's like, my kids fly economy. I fly first class for one. And the fact that I'm even allowing them to fucking fly and go on a vacation that they didn't earn.
Right. You're welcome.
And I'm like, attaboy.
Right. You're welcome.
Attaboy.
That's right. Yeah. And I think that's something that like people don't understand, that it's like there is a blueprint. Okay. And the blueprint goes like this, that works generation to generation. And the fact that they didn't even bother to ask the question is their fault. I'm sorry, but you've got to ask questions and to understand what it is your next step is. Be educated. That doesn't necessarily require a degree. It means be knowledgeable and take in information. That's what. Okay.
And part of be educated is skills like discernment, integrity, consistency. That's all part of education, right?
Correct.
Being educated.
Right. Be a person of virtue, right? Have that virtue of, and that work ethic and have that kind of drive, right? Be motivated, stuff like that. Like have that, right? Those are all things that transcend time.
Keep your word.
Keep your word. All that character, that transcends time. So have that. Have some integrity, have some fucking pride, and have a sense of, and have some sense of dignity that says, I'm not going to get on the fucking dole, right? I'm not going to be a failure. To be a failure is shameful. Like you should think like that. So that's one. 2, live below your means, however you can come by that. If it means roommates, get roommates. If it means coupons, coupons. If it means beans and rice, beans and rice. I don't care, baby. But you need to live below your means, and that means you're not adopting a fucking cat because you're lonely. Like that's not it. Okay, you don't get pets. You can't afford pets because your shit's broke.
Yes. And also the biggest pointer that people are wealthier than they realize they are is when they have the luxury of feelings letting dictate their actions.
Thank you.
When you are broke, when you are in actual poverty, you do not have the luxury to listen any, I don't feel like it, I'm not motivated, maybe anxiety, my little abusive boyfriend, aka depression, or my ADHD, fucking masturbating mentally now. You do not have the luxury of neuro fucking divergent. Fucking yeah, no, yeah, because Elon Musk is no, baby, you're not Elon Musk. Again, if you have the luxury to listen or even validate any of your feelings, you are extremely wealthy.
Yeah.
And what it shows me, by the way, when they do this whole like shitting on the parents, is that the parents have sacrificed themselves clearly so much that they made it look easy. That now in hindsight, the kids are like, oh my God, my parents had it so easy. No, baby. Your parents sacrificed fucking everything.
You had it easy, not them.
You had it easy.
Correct. You were the fucking struggle, bitch. And they didn't make you feel that way.
Yeah.
You were their struggle. And they made it look easy and they made it look desirable to you. Like, holy shit.
And now you're projecting, but because I had it so easy, I should have
continued to have it easy. It should just naturally come.
It's entitlement. Yeah, it's entitlement. And by the Viking, my husband always says, like, entitlement is literally like a baby saying, that tit is mine.
Correct.
Give me that tit.
That's right. And so if you're living below your means, you've got a basic work ethic, right? And some motivation and drive. I mean, you don't have to want to be a millionaire. Like, you could just want to be a teacher. That's okay. You want to be a truck driver. That's fine. Whatever. But you want to do something. You have some sense of purpose. Okay. Like, and you're pursuing that. And you are, and if you're living below your means, that means you're not signing on to debts you cannot afford. Getting degrees that make no sense.
Word. So no fucking artsy fartsy, gender fucking study or whatever the fuck.
No, you don't get.
By the way, what you said, so you said us having a sense of purpose, and I've been reading a book, and it's called the Elsewhere Express, Everywhere Express, Elsewhere Express. Very midnight library, a very like, so anyway, it's a dream world created by thoughts from people who drift off right before sleep or when they don't want to be where they are. But one thing that they said specifically is that the modern West takes purpose as this like mythical thing that you have to find that's being given to you. And they say that purpose is just the thing you do that needs to get done. And I'm like, let's fucking go, baby.
Well, if you think about, like, look at people who lived through like the Great Depression, anywhere in the world, really, because they were all kind of in it together. Like, you ask them, like, well, don't you have trauma from that? Don't you feel sad about it? And it's like, no, I was so busy just trying to get life done that I didn't have time to get in my feelings, like you were saying, right? And it's like, and the same thing was true with like my dad. I was like, was it trying and terrible for you to live out of your car on the beach, And he's just like, no, it was much better than living at home. And I was like, okay, you know. And my mom, I asked her, Mom, you were in the hood, like what? Like you got mugged. You're day one in the United States with nothing but a grocery bag of your worldly belongings, nowhere near anybody other than your friend for your roommate. How did you pause? How are you okay? And my mom's just like, that's life. I knew it was temporary, but I had to, if it was only temporary if I worked my way out of it. Otherwise, it's permanent, right? Like, she's like, if I want it to be temporary, then I can't sit there and dwell in it. I have to keep moving away from it. And so the work to get away from it was what I was doing. I was working to get away from it. I worked every day. I got promoted. Somebody noticed me. I got promoted again. I got out of there. I moved to a nicer neighborhood, whatever, met your dad. We got married, whatever. That's what happened. And I was like, okay, well, you know, I mean, people now are saying, I can't get past my own financial struggles. I signed up for a degree that I can't get a job with. And it's like, it's not that there are no degrees worthwhile. There are. If you're going to be a biochemistry engineer, blah, 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 in a lab, yeah, I guess. Yeah,
you're going to want to go to medical school.
That's right. You're going to go to school. You're going to do the things. You're going to pay that. But it's going to pay off in dividends on the other end. And you know exactly where you're headed. Like, you're not wondering who's going to hire me. You know exactly who the fuck's going to hire you because you're looking at every medical practice or every law firm and you're saying, I'm going to apply here. And then you're networking while you're in school. You're networking to see if you can get this job, that gig, whatever.
But you're not doing some fucking social studies studies from the Midwestern historical fucking Britain or United Kingdom.
Right. You're not studying the growth of yams in 1848 Holland. Like you know, with a degree in that. And it's like, nobody cares.
Like, oh no, I am 400K in debt because of my.
Yeah, I'm 400K in debt. I have all these degrees that don't mean anything. And it's like, they told me to get a degree though. And I'm like, see, that's where we fell off. That's where you fell off.
Yeah.
The degree was a means to an end. It's the education to get to where you're going, right? Yeah. That was always the plan. That was the blueprint. It was never just get any degree. Nobody ever said that to you.
Right. And that's still the plan. Just the form of education might have changed, right? Because now you have
technology
and stuff and whatever. But
you might get certified. You might get certified in Facebook ads and go on and make ads on Facebook. Cool.
But you still need to learn.
Correct. You're learning toward an end though. Like you have a goal in mind. That's why they ask you to get a major. Because they're like, we need to know that you have some purpose and some end point where like you finished. And it's like, but you tell this to everybody. And it's like, but you got a degree in gender studies. Nobody told you to do that. You did that. That was your choice. That wasn't the boomers saying get a degree in gender studies for sure. Get a psychology degree. Nobody told you to do this shit. Like you did that. And so it's like they told you to get educated.
Oh, sorry. No. I just had to Google while you were talking. Like what the most useless degrees are.
Oh yeah,
right now.
Yeah.
Anthropology, fine arts, performing arts.
Oh yeah. How many people are getting those degrees though? A lot.
Early childhood education, environmental studies is the biggest one.
All of those. Yeah, and I knew people with those degrees, and I'm like, what the fuck are you going to do with that degree? Like, what are you going to do? Here I was thinking, like, what was I going to do with my degree? But linguistics, I was studying language. And I was like, ultimately, I'll be able to get into some sort of communications field. And I did. Ta-da, I'm in advertising. Okay. But, like, I had friends who were majoring in art. And I was like, no, seriously, though. What the fuck are you going to do with that? Oh, I'm going to be famous. Right. No, you're not. You're not. Like, I'm sorry. I love you, but you are not going to be famous, girl.
Baby girl, you do not have what it takes.
No. And you know what? If you're going to be famous, that shit ain't happening till you're dead because that's what happens to artists. People who paint aren't famous till they die. So, like, your shit isn't going to see a dime of anything that you have.
Not only until they die and then have lived a super traumatic, using the quotes, right?
Right.
Hard life, like losing your ear and shit and living in ghettos. It's not that you're just like this cute, a stay-at-home, whatever. Your husband is working and you're just doing arts on the side. And no one's going to care about your shit when you die.
No one.
No.
Absolutely not. And I say, and I'm like, so you didn't choose the right major. So your parents told you to go to college, but you didn't choose the right major. Whose fault is that, right? Your parents said to go and move out on your own and do it yourself and encouraged you to be independent. And you said, okay, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to do it with a 2-bedroom apartment just for myself. They didn't tell you to get a 2-bedroom apartment. They told you to move out. They didn't tell you to get the 2-bedroom apartment. You got the 2-bedroom apartment. They said, okay, you're going to need to get a car to get around, to get to your job. And instead of buying a used car for a couple $1,000s, you got a brand new car. No, you got a lease. Even better. You got a fucking lease. So like,
yeah. Well, and then like it becomes this victim triangle. I'm studying the victim triangle with Lynn Forrest again. It's a very good concept. Where so you have like the victim and the victim blames, right? The victim always blames.
Of course.
So then they will shift the blame. So if you can get to see these people like, hey, you may have not chosen the right major. They'll be like, or getting a new car was not the fucking smartest move. Yeah, but why did they give it to me then, right? I shouldn't have. I'm like, you gotta fucking at some point you gotta be like, yo.
Like that's the same thing they say about student loans. I'm like, bitch.
Then why did they?
You have Google. You literally have Google that tells you and says, I would like a calculator for my student loans, and it will be like, here are several different calculators for your student loans to let you know how much interest you're going to pay, how long it'll take to pay it off, etc. Never looked into that. I'm like, so you didn't even know what you were signing. Well, they should have explained it.
But this is I am a infant.
Right.
My mom and my dad had sacrificed so much that I had it so easy and everything was literally handed to me.
Correct.
Therefore, it should have been continuously handed to me ongoing as an adult.
How about you ask motherfucking questions?
No, but no one taught me.
That's it. You got to own the part that you didn't know. And so you had to ask. And now you're sitting here basically drowning in debt, going nowhere, living paycheck to paycheck, and have nothing to show for it.
But I don't know how we got here, not you and I, but just like as a collective, like there is so much potency in absolute rock bottom, realizing that you fucked up, whether it was your fault, whether other people should have taught you better, whether it was because you didn't know that you could ask questions. Like the fact that you're at rock bottom right now and there seems no way out is a beautiful place to be in, because it can only get better. For one, you can only now not repeat yourself, but it requires you not to fucking repeat yourself. So in a practical sense, that fucking new car you have with the lease, bring it back, buy a fucking $2,500 or just a $500 fucking, shitty ass falling apart Honda Civic from fucking, right. I don't know, 1993. Right. You have 2 bedrooms. You're stressing about paying rent. Get the fuck out of there.
Or get roommates in there. One or the other.
You'll get probably, again, if it's that much, you shouldn't be living there. Get the fuck to your own financial class. Start fucking building. Because if you keep doing the same thing, or if you keep doing nothing at all, because you have that luxury, right?
Right.
You just be like, oh, but I'm paralyzed from all my overwhelm. What a fucking luxurious position to be in, by the way.
Right.
You're gonna remain in this position.
Right. You're gonna have to. Your life isn't so special and unique, and so tragic that nobody's ever done this before. That's the thing, is they really feel like they're in a separate class. They're like, we're the first and only generation, blah, blah, blah. No, you're not. You're not.
No. Like, you literally have it the easiest. And by the way, the longer time passes, your responsibilities compound.
Right.
So it's only going to get harder as time passes.
It's not going to get easier. I mean, and I was saying about housing. I was like, I understand what housing is. I live here. I know what it is. But when my parents were coming up, they commuted an hour each way to work in the 70s and 80s to afford a house. They could not live near work because that was too expensive. Okay, so it was already happening to them in Los Angeles in the 70s and 80s. Okay, that was already happening to them
in the easy time.
In the easy times, they needed both incomes because their interest rate was 13%. So let us not play for a minute on how affordable life was for them. Okay, they were not balling and shot calling. They were driving and falling asleep behind the wheel.
Driving and sweating and working.
But they found an affordable area, made the commitment and said, I'm going to do the commute then, and worked their way. Eventually, when they were 50, 20 years later, yes, they bought a house closer to home. But they earned that through several moves to get there, right?
And by the way, again, because you're blazing over it with your beautiful fast brain, at fucking 50.
Right.
Not at 23.
No.
Not at 34.
No.
Not at 41.
Nope,
no.
Not even at 41.
At fucking 50.
Correct. Yeah. We were still living in apartments and condos until my dad hit about 50. That's when we had a house. So whatever, right? And we were living in duplexes and all sorts of other things, but we were not living in a standalone house until my dad was about 50, until 1991. So that's when I had a house, and two incomes the whole time, right? Dual income the entire time. So I'm thinking, well, I have to do the same thing my parents did. What is the blueprint? Go and find affordable areas to live, commit to the commute while you're saving, invest in the house, let the house appreciate, cash in, get a nicer home in a nicer area, upgrade your life, bring down
you can afford that.
Right, correct.
Not because you want to.
No, right. But you're finding the affordable place.
Exactly.
It might not be next to work, so you might have to commute a little bit.
Exactly.
Or a lot of it, for that matter. I did the 90 miles. So but that's so then I moved from Southern California, sold the house. Now I'm in Arizona. At this time, this was a cheaper place to be, right? This was a cheaper place to be. I was able to do more with the house. I got more into the house, whatever. And then the next step is going to be to move to another place where ultimately I will be positioned to pay off the house in about 5 years, and maximum 5 years. So these are the moves I'm making. And so he says, do you think this, you still think this blueprint works for everybody? I'm like, absolutely it does. I said, because my kids shouldn't be coming up in LA anymore. LA is dead to them. They should not be looking at LA. They shouldn't be looking at New York or Chicago. Fuck those places. They should be looking at up and coming cities. For my daughter, I would recommend something like a Nashville, something like a Cincinnati, something like that grade. No Dallas, no Houston for you. No Austin even. That's too expensive. You're going to need to find a place. Think Louisville. Think Lexington, right? Think Charleston. You're going to need a city, but not a big city. But you're getting your start. It's an entry-level city for an entry-level job. What the fuck? What are you doing? What the fuck else is happening in your life but bills? Nothing. So you might as well go move your entry-level ass to an entry-level city. That's where you belong. Entry-level job in an expert city makes no sense. It makes no sense. You shouldn't be doing that. That's what I'm telling my kids. That's what I did. I did something very similar. When I moved out and I got my first own place, right? After the roommates and shit. My first very own place, studio apartment, hour and a half each way to work because I couldn't afford to live in. It was in Century City by Beverly Hills. My shit isn't living out there on my first fucking job. Like I can't afford to work here. Like I can't afford to be near here. So I had to tell them that. I'm like, look, you're not paying me enough to live here. So I have to commute. I have to commute. Like my commute's going to be long. I don't know what to tell you. So like at some point I got to leave so I can get home in time to go to sleep. So I can come back and do this shit tomorrow, and they knew that. So like, I don't feel like, and I feel like that's what my kids are being told, but that's what I feel like I was told. Go move to an affordable place, commit to the commute, get the job, get the opportunity. Yeah.
The blueprint is the same, except less, sacrifice more, work harder, repeat.
Until you get there, until the money starts to catch up and pass you. Right? Because you're doing this, right? If your money's back here and you're here, you're doing this right now, right? But The thing is that at some point this will catch up, right? Because of what you're doing in this lane. If you keep persistent on that lane, yes, this will catch up, but you need to make the sacrifices, and you need to do the things that everybody else did. And I'm this notion that they didn't have to sacrifice, that they didn't have to have roommates, that they didn't have to have the cheap dumpy car. My mom had like a 1960 Chevette or some shit for her first car when she finally got one. Like it was some old lady's car. Like it was.
Again, they're looking at this from like some kind of Hollywood perspective, right?
They really are.
They see the movies and they're like, oh, they had it easy. That's a fucking movie, bitch.
Yeah, that's not real life. That's not real life. Like
were there neighborhoods? Sure.
Yeah.
Not the majority.
No. And that's the thing. I'm like, you didn't pay attention to any of the old like sitcoms and shows that clearly depicted people struggling. And it was relatable, and that's why people laughed, right? Like you look at I Love Lucy, like it was one income, it was one apartment, not a house. He didn't have a house in New York. He had an apartment in New York. I think a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment, if I'm not mistaken. Like that's all he had. And that was in the 40s and 50s, the 50s or so, right? Like the honeymooners were even before that, they were like 40s and 50s. They had a 1-bedroom apartment. He was a bus driver. Like 1-bedroom apartment, no air conditioning, no refrigerator, no dishwasher, nothing. It's like they were living so different, and they were living without. They did more with less, and now you're sitting here complaining that you have more and you're doing less. It has switched. You're doing less with more when they were doing more with less. And so you missed the fucking lesson. You did not understand the assignment, and you need to own that. Right? Like that's the bottom line. Like,
yep.
Own the part that you failed the assignment rather than getting pissed at the teacher for giving you the assignment in the first place.
Poverty in a wealthy nation is a choice.
1 billion%.
Yep.
1 billion%.
Fucking solved it.
If they listen, we did.
Well, see, the thing is, I'm not even like, I have no illusions because I feel like the gap between the leftovers and people who, so like, I feel like we've had several gaps going on in the last, let's say, decade, right? So you've had the gap of the people who show up, whether it's as an employee or an employer, people just who try life, and the people who are passive at life, like that gap has grown. Then you had then there's another gap that has exponentially grown between the people who are constantly blaming, but not changing, and the people who are like, okay, I'm so aggressively, radically trying to take responsibility in my life, even for things that are not even my responsibility. I'll take that just for the sake of exercising my muscle of self-responsibility. Like the gap is so big. So I have no delusion, because like I have no delusion that those leftovers will listen to any, because again, their mind won't allow them, right? The way their program, their software is set up, the way they have programmed their own software will not allow them. I am saying this to my former self, who has at some point, I'm saying this to a former self who did some blaming and also felt victimized by the world. Like, we're time traveling in this bitch.
That's right. That's right. And I think it would do them well. I mean, I think there's a matter of like, the video you had sent me about the people with depression and whatever. I think there's a difference between the person who says, I know there's something wrong with me and I want to get it fixed. I know there's something wrong in my situation and I want to fix it, versus the person that says there's something wrong with my situation, therefore I can't do anything about it. It's like the weather. I have no control over this. It's just happening to me, and
constantly. And you notice the difference. And like I said, like you don't have to even like, I skipped like after 10 minutes, I was like over the video, right? By the way, for the listeners, we're talking about a video, I think it's Jubilee, and it's one psychiatrist versus 20 depresso people. And I sent it to Kelly as a catalyst for, these endless conversations that we have here. And I said, none of these people are depressed, because all of them are trying to sell you on their story. Right. The actual depression is not, because actual depression goes towards apathy, right? Numbness. all these people are very invested in selling you their story so you believe them and you validate it. That's not depression.
Right. They're pathologizing a human experience because, because your parents dying is a totally human experience. It is so not unique.
Right. Like, how the fuck do you think you're unique for your parents dying?
You're not. This is like what happens to everybody.
Like,
it happens to most people.
Though.
What's that?
Literally everybody. Like, there's not one person exempt from that.
Right. You lost your job. Okay, that happens all the time.
My mom didn't love me the way I thought I wanted to be loved. Well, welcome to the club, bitch. Like, literally everyone.
Yeah, like you had a human experience that you didn't like, and you're bothered by it, and you won't let it go. That's what you got. You don't have depression.
Word.
You got the sads.
Right. You got the annoyance.
You got the annoyance. You got the life. You got a case of life.
You got the entitlement and the annoyance. That's what you got.
Yeah.
Yeah. So real. We fucking solved it.
Indeed.
It was great. It was good. This was good. This is the thing. Like, I don't think people understand the depth of lessons that we're discussing and the mindset that's woven in between. When we use, like, leftovers or politicians or whatever fucking situation, because that's just the expression of it.
Right.
So anyway, it feels good to be rich. That's all I have to say.
It does.
I have a shirt. I have this shirt from Paris Hilton, Stop Being Poor. Even though Paris Hilton never wore that shirt, but I created the shirt now. So now I have the Stop Being Poor shirt. So I'm like, stop being poor, motherfuckers.
Just stop it. You just do things.
Literally. You can just do things. You can literally just do things. Everyone, Rich and Hydrated, Diamonds and Demons editions. We see y'all next week.